So Axel and Glen are from Modular Records, so probably Australia's coolest record label, could I say that?
Oh, don't say that.
I could say that. Yeah. You guys have got so many different strategies for getting your bands out there. So we're going to just put on a video in the background which will give you an idea of who those bands are, and we'll tell you a little bit about the story. So this doesn't need any... Okay, perfect. So, guys, Modular Records, tell us about it.
Well, Modular Records is just over 10 years old. We're actually not the founders of Modular Records, unlike everyone else here. We're just the guys who go to panels. But it started 10 years ago when...
I really enjoy this.
You can chime in at any moment. It started 10 years ago when our boss, Steve Pav, was handed a demo copy of the Avalanche's first record. And pretty much he had no record business experience then, did he?
Small.
Yeah, he was mostly a promoter. He kind of cut his teeth touring bands like the Beastie Boys and Nirvana before they became big enough to be franchise-type acts. From there, today we're the stable to people like Wolfmother, Avalanches, Presets, Kakopy, Muscles, Bumblebees, Ladyhawk, Tame Impala. Who am I forgetting? That's pretty much it.
Most of it.
Internationally, we also do, we look after international acts in Australia, so the Yeah Yeah Yeahs and Chromeo and people like that. Probably about 4 years ago, we diversified the business pretty heavily, so we stopped just being a record label and got back into touring. We set up offices in the UK and New York, more for touring and to help facilitate the release of albums there as much as anything else. We also today we have our own internal bookings agency, we have our own merchandise company, we have a marketing arm that looks after the associations that Modular has with external brands. What else can we say here? You got any more spiel?
We've got a computer division.
We've got a computer division.
24-hour Twitter.
Yeah, it's mostly
activation.
about tweets. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of a bit of the nutshell of it.
Yeah. So the very first act you signed, well, that Steve Pav signed, was the Avalanches, which was a massive international success. And I don't know how many times you guys have been asked about that second album.
Yeah, it's going to be out at the end of the year. That's what we get told. Yeah.
So
every year.
So that sounds like a magical combination of kind of luck and being in the right place at the right time and knowing what to do with it. How much of the success of your bands do you think is down to knowing who to choose, and how much comes down to the strategy of pushing them?
Well, we never ever work with someone unless we like it to begin with. So we don't ever pick an act just because we feel it can be a huge commercial success.
We've tried. It doesn't work.
No, it hasn't. Glenn and my band failed badly, but. Yeah, so the first thing has to be the aesthetics, that we think it's right, and we don't tie ourselves to any particular genre of music or anything like that, but that has to be the first thing. But then from there, obviously, we want it to be as successful as we can from that point, and I think we've been lucky in lots of ways that we've been able to kind of walk a bit of a tightrope between being seen as reasonably credible, but also being able to be commercially successful at the same time. And from the record label perspective, that's partly thanks to the fact that we have a distribution deal with Universal, who are very supportive of us. But internationally, we've spent a lot of time working on Modular as a brand, I guess. So we try to, when we sign a new act, we try to utilize the fact that people may have listened to Modular artists before and may recognize, the brand as much as anything else, and then use that as a bit of a gateway to them perhaps picking up that CD and listening to it, or listening to it online, or whatever it may be.
So, that was my next question. So Modular is one of those few labels, I guess, there's like Warp, DFA, that when someone comes out on Modular, you pretty much listen to them anyway because it's got that Modular seal of approval, but also a a label that has such a strong aesthetic as a brand as well. Can you tell us, how would you describe that modular brand?
You want to go for that one?
It's kind of hard to categorise, I think, because I think when you look at the diversity of the acts from Wolfmother to the presets to something like Tame Impala to CEO and the Tough Alliance from Sweden, it kind of covers a few genres musically, but I guess you could just call it vaguely forward-thinking pop music, really, and the aesthetics sort of tie in with that somewhat. And I guess, there's nothing completely definitive other than that it comes from a sort of small team of people who love it and feel passionate about it. And it
is, in a sense, it becomes more than just the music. Like, we spend a lot of time trying to get, things like, obviously, the artwork and the videos and all that sort of stuff to support it as good as we can get it, though sometimes it's a disaster. And also, then we do things like we'll work on like touring entities, like we brought Daft Punk down here a couple of years ago, which was really leveraging the fact that they liked a lot of stuff that we had already on the label as a foot in the door to be able to tour them through Australia. And again, that's just a reminder of the fact that we're not even really just about promoting our own music all the time, but we're just about, we like all these different types of music and they come together under this banner.
Mm. So this is kind of a good point for us. Can I give you the clicker?
I don't know how to use it. Oh, maybe you can do it. You seem pretty savvy. All right. Clear. So.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So I've just put together a series of slides to highlight some of the things that we do in promoting local artists overseas, and also just some of the tools that we have, I guess, that may not be seen necessarily as marketing or branding or anything else, but just things that we've got together. So first of all, from a recording perspective, one of the best things internationally is to find great international people to work with. So this is a picture of Tim Goldsworthy, who's the guy with the Ghetto Blaster, and then there's Tim down in the bottom corner there from Cut Copy when they were recording their last album at the DFA studio, which is called Plantain in New York. So being able to make that association with someone like Tim, who's such a fantastic producer, is, again, it's fantastic to be able to take that kind of story to the international media and say, this amazing guy's worked on this album and blah, blah, blah. The same is with the videos and the artwork and even the press photos and everything that we do. We try and get it right for the artist, but at the same time work with pretty interesting people. Who was this video by again?
That's Kasper Balslev, who's a Danish director who we flew down to Sydney to shoot the presets video for This Boy's in Love.
Yeah. And also they look a bit goofy there, so I wanted to put that one in. Then once the record's made, I guess, we're always kind of open to different ways of distributing it and getting it out there. This is just one example of work that we did with Leo Burnett, actually, who were behind the Earth Hour campaign, or still are. And we worked with them just basically as a means of creating a little bit of a reminder about Earth Hour, sort of 6 or 7 months down the track from when it actually happened, and this was in time for Christmas. So this is the Soft Lights, who put together an album where all proceeds were kind of going back to the climate change cause.